There's a moment that changes everything. For some people, it's the first time they forget where they put the keys and someone says, "Well, you're not getting any younger." For others, it's when they look in the mirror and notice the laugh lines, the gray hairs, or that their knees don't bend quite like they used to. And slowly, sometimes without even realizing it, people start to believe that aging means fading. It's a quiet lie, one that doesn't shout but whispers constantly, "You're past your prime. You're not needed anymore. Just step aside." It's a lie we see in the movies that only celebrate youth, in job listings that quietly filter out anyone over 50, even in birthday cards that treat getting older like a joke. But here's the twist no one talks about. Most of what we believe about aging is wrong, completely wrong. In fact, some of the most life-altering discoveries about health, happiness, and purpose only come after 60. And while yes, aging comes with changes, it also unlocks strength, clarity, and perspective that the younger years simply can't offer. The problem isn't aging. The problem is the myths we've built around it. These myths are subtle, they sound harmless, but they shape how we see ourselves and how others see us. So today, let's tear those myths down, one by one. Because if you're over 50, over 60, or even just curious about what lies ahead, you deserve to know the truth. Aging isn't something to fear, it's something to understand, and maybe even celebrate. This video will reveal 10 surprising myths about aging that most people believe, but that science, history, and real-life experience prove completely false. Some of these might make you angry, some might make you smile, but all of them will open your eyes. And if you're younger, stick around, because one day this will be you. And how you age depends on what you believe, starting now. Let's begin with the first myth. Myth number 1, aging means becoming less intelligent. This one hurts the most, because it doesn't just make people doubt their memory, it makes them doubt their worth. There's a common belief that as we age, our brains become slower, foggier, and less capable, that older people can't learn new things, that they forget more than they remember, that their best ideas are behind them. But that belief, it's not only wrong, it's dangerously misleading. Yes, it's true that the brain changes as we age. Reaction time slows a little. Names may take a few extra seconds to recall. But here's what no one tells you. Many types of intelligence actually improve with age. Psychologists call it crystallized intelligence, the ability to use knowledge, experience, and wisdom to solve real-world problems. And it peaks, not in your 20s or 30s, but often in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Think about it. Who do people turn to when they need advice that actually matters? A 25-year-old TikTok guru? Or the grandmother who's lived through wars, heartbreak, joy, loss, and love, and still smiles through it all? Wisdom isn't fast. It's deep, and depth takes time. One study from Harvard found that older adults often outperform younger ones in tasks involving moral reasoning, long-term decision-making, and emotional regulation. In other words, the kind of intelligence that holds families together, guides generations, and sees the big picture doesn't fade, it flourishes. Albert Einstein once said, "The only source of knowledge is experience." And experience doesn't come fast, it comes slowly, with age. So the next time someone says older people are slipping mentally, ask them this. Are they really slipping? Or are they just thinking on a level you haven't grown into yet? Because aging doesn't shrink your mind, it expands it. Myth number 2, aging means you'll be lonely. Picture this. A man sits alone at the window of a quiet home. The sounds of laughter and footsteps outside remind him of years long gone, when his house was full, when dinner was loud, when someone was always calling his name. It's a powerful image, and sadly, it's what most people imagine when they think of aging. Loneliness, isolation, days that blur together, no one to call, no one who calls. But here's the surprising truth. Loneliness in old age is not inevitable. In fact, multiple studies have shown that seniors often report greater emotional satisfaction in relationships than younger people do. Why? Because as we grow older, we get better at prioritizing what really matters. We stop chasing quantity and start nurturing quality. Aging brings clarity, and with it, a deeper appreciation for meaningful bonds. Yes, it's true that older adults may lose friends or loved ones over time, but many also build new connections through community groups, volunteering, religious activities, or even learning something new. There are elderly people today forming book clubs, joining yoga classes, mentoring young adults, and starting YouTube channels. What really causes loneliness isn't age, it's disconnection. And disconnection can affect anyone, whether you're 19 or 90. But older adults often have a secret weapon: resilience. After decades of navigating life's ups and downs, many develop the emotional strength to seek connection, even when it feels difficult. And here's something beautiful. Many seniors say that their deepest friendships, the ones that bring peace, meaning, and warmth, didn't begin in youth, but in their later years. So no, aging doesn't mean being forgotten. It means finally having the time to connect with people who matter, and to let go of the ones who never did. Loneliness is a real challenge, but it's not a destiny. It's a problem that can be solved, not a sentence to be served. And for many older adults, the best chapter of connection is still being written. Myth number 3, aging means losing your purpose. Have you ever noticed how society defines people by what they do? You ask someone who they are and they'll say, "I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I run a business." We attach our identity to our productivity. So what happens when a person retires? When the job ends? When the kids grow up and move out? When the daily routines that once gave life structure suddenly vanish? Many people are left asking themselves a painful question: what am I now? And that's how the myth begins. That with age, purpose disappears. But here's what we're missing. Purpose isn't tied to a paycheck. It's not something you retire from. It's something you redefine. Some of the most powerful examples of purpose don't come from youth. They come from people who've lived long enough to realize what actually matters. A grandmother who becomes the emotional anchor of an entire family. A retired engineer who mentors underprivileged kids in his community. A man in his 80s who starts writing poetry for the first time in his life. A woman who plants a garden, not just for herself, but for future generations she'll never meet. These aren't side hobbies. These are deeply human callings. One study by the University of Michigan found that older adults who reported having a strong sense of purpose were more likely to live longer, healthier lives. Their immune systems were stronger, their mental health was better, even their sleep improved. Why? Because the body listens to the soul, and a soul with purpose keeps going. So if you've ever been made to feel like your value has an expiration date, remember this: purpose isn't about youth, it's about meaning. And sometimes, meaning doesn't become clear until life slows down enough for you to finally hear it. Myth number 4, older people can't change or learn new things. There's a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's catchy, it's popular, and it's completely false. This myth might be one of the most damaging because it convinces people that after a certain age, they're stuck, that their habits are fixed, that their brain has closed shop, that the best they can do is sit back, repeat old routines, and slowly fade into the background. But science and real life tell a different story. Our brains are wired for growth, even in old age. This isn't speculation, it's fact. It's called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, form new neural connections, and adapt at any age. In 2009, researchers at the University of California found that seniors who regularly learned new skills, like digital photography or quilting, actually improved their memory and cognitive function more than those who only engaged in passive activities like watching TV or doing puzzles. And the most interesting part? It didn't matter how techy or unfamiliar the activity was. The key was the challenge, the act of pushing the mind beyond its comfort zone. In simpler terms, growth isn't age-dependent, it's courage-dependent. We've seen 70-year-olds learning how to code, 80-year-olds picking up foreign languages, 90-year-olds joining social media to stay connected, and even going viral. And it's not just about skills, it's about mindset. Older adults have the unique ability to reflect, to unlearn, and to reframe the past. In some ways, that makes them more capable of change than younger people who haven't yet faced life's bigger questions. So don't ever let age be an excuse. You are not a machine that wears out. You are a soul that evolves. And as long as you're breathing, your next chapter can still be your most powerful. Myth number 5. Aging means becoming a burden. This is the one that people rarely say out loud, but they feel it. It starts in the small moments, when a parent needs help getting out of a chair, when they ask a question twice because they forgot the answer, when they hesitate to speak up, worried they'll be in the way. And slowly the fear creeps in. I don't want to be a burden. But let's pause here. Where did that idea come from? That asking for help makes you less valuable? That needing care erases your contributions? That growing old means you've stopped giving and only take? That is a myth rooted not in truth, but in a culture that glorifies independence to the point of cruelty. Let's be honest, every single one of us starts life as a burden. We are born helpless. We cry. We're fed. We are carried. And no one complains because we understand that love and care are part of being human. So why do we shame people for needing help at the end of life when we freely give it at the start? The truth is, elderly people are not burdens. They are libraries of experience. They are anchors for families. They are teachers of resilience, patience, and perspective. Even in moments when the body grows weak, the soul still gives comfort, presence, humor, wisdom. And in fact, caregiving isn't just a duty, it's a privilege. One study found that adult children who cared for their aging parents often felt a deeper sense of purpose and emotional closeness than they had before. So let's flip the script. Receiving help is not failure. It is a chance to be loved, to be seen, to allow others to grow through giving. You are not a burden. You are a legacy in progress, and no amount of physical limitation can erase that. Myth number 6, aging is all about decline. This myth is everywhere, in commercials and conversations, in the way people sigh when they talk about getting older. The narrative goes like this: youth is the peak. After that, it's all downhill. We're sold anti-aging creams, stay young pills, wrinkle erasers, as if age itself is a disease to fight off, not a journey to embrace. But here's what that mindset steals from us: the beauty of transformation. Yes, aging brings changes. The body may move slower, energy may dip, certain freedoms may shift, but these changes are not simply signs of decay. They are signs of evolution. A tree in autumn doesn't panic when its leaves fall. It's not dying, it's preparing for renewal. And humans? We're no different. Aging allows us to shed the superficial, the ego, the pressure to impress, the race to achieve, and replace it with something richer: depth, self-awareness, clarity. In fact, researchers at Stanford found that many people experience what's called the paradox of aging. Even as physical health may decline, emotional well-being increases. Older adults report higher levels of gratitude, calmness, and overall life satisfaction than younger adults. Why? Because they've stopped chasing and started being. They've seen enough to know what really matters, and that's not decline. That's wisdom rising. If we judge aging only by what's lost, we miss what's gained: patience, grace, insight, presence, peace. So no, aging isn't a slow breakdown. It's a quiet unfolding. You are not falling apart. You are becoming more of who you were always meant to be. Myth number 7, older people have nothing to contribute anymore. It's subtle but everywhere. This idea that once people retire or once they pass a certain age, their relevance quietly disappears. They're not asked for input. They're excluded from decisions. They're talked about but rarely talked to. And over time, this sends a cruel message. You've had your time. Step aside. But that assumption is not only wrong, it's a massive loss for everyone else. Let's look at the facts. Many cultures around the world revere their elders. In Japan, the older generations are honored for their wisdom. In Native American communities, elders are seen as the spiritual backbone of the tribe. Even in ancient societies like the Greeks, elders were respected advisors and storytellers. Why? Because life experience matters. You don't get to your 70s, 80s, or 90s without learning how to endure, how to forgive, how to rise again. You don't survive wars, raise families, face death, rebuild after loss, and still carry hope, unless you've got something truly rare to offer: perspective. And that's the one thing younger generations can't Google. They need to hear it from those who've lived it. A 75-year-old who says it's going to be okay has more weight behind those words than a million TikTok pep talks. And contribution? It comes in many forms. You don't have to be working full-time or inventing something new to make a difference. You might be the one who listens when no one else does, the one who remembers birthdays when everyone else forgets, the one who tells a story that makes a teenager see life differently. That matters. So if anyone's ever made you feel like your voice no longer counts, know this: your contribution is not measured in productivity, it's measured in presence, and presence can change a life. Myth number 8, aging automatically leads to poor health. It's one of the most commonly accepted beliefs that getting older means you'll inevitably get sick, slow down, and live in pain. And yes, aging does bring changes to the body. Bones lose density, joints may ache, the immune system becomes more sensitive. That's reality. But here's what we often forget: poor health is not a guarantee of aging. It's a risk, not a rule. In fact, the way you live matters far more than how old you are. Take this in. According to the World Health Organization, the majority of health problems in older adults aren't caused by age itself, but by lifestyle, environment, and access to care. That means many of the conditions we associate with old age, like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, or high blood pressure, can be delayed or even prevented by daily choices: a walk in the morning, more vegetables than sugar, a good laugh with friends, rest, purpose, connection. There are 80-year-olds who can out-hike people half their age. There are 90-year-olds lifting weights at the gym. There are 100-year-olds who still dance with joy at weddings. And even when illness does appear, which it can, many older adults manage their health with incredible strength, patience, and determination. They don't give up, they adapt. Plus, let's not ignore the health benefits of age itself. Older adults tend to have better emotional regulation. They stress less over little things. They sleep deeper in their wisdom, if not always in their beds. So no, aging doesn't automatically mean falling apart. In many ways, it's the time to finally take care of yourself, with the perspective that youth often lacks. Your body may shift, but your choices still matter. And every day you have the power to move in the direction of vitality, even if that movement is slower than it used to be. Myth number 9, romance and intimacy end with age. It's one of the most awkward myths, so people don't talk about it. But silence doesn't make it true. There's a deeply held belief that romance, love, and intimacy have an expiration date. That after a certain age your heart stops fluttering, that attraction fades, that desire disappears, that couples over 60 or 70 are just roommates, quiet companions at best. But here's the truth that no one tells you enough. Love doesn't retire. In fact, for many people, it deepens. Older adults often experience a more authentic kind of intimacy. Not the rushed, uncertain, self-conscious love of youth, but a connection rooted in comfort, shared history, and emotional safety. It's a different kind of fire, one that burns steady, not frantic. Yes, physical intimacy may change, bodies shift, needs evolve, but that doesn't mean it disappears, it simply matures. And here's something surprising. A study from the National Poll on Healthy Aging found that nearly 40% of people aged 65 to 80 reported being still sexually active, and more than half said their sex life was important to their overall quality of life. What that tells us is this: the need for touch, connection, and affection never goes away. And it's not limited to people who've been together forever. Many older adults fall in love again, in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. They meet at church, at community centers, online, and their stories are no less magical than the teenage love stories we glorify. So let's stop pretending love belongs only to the young, because a wrinkled hand reaching for yours, a quiet laugh between two people who truly know each other, a kiss that carries decades of patience and forgiveness, that's not the end of romance. That might just be the most honest version of it. Myth number 10, it's too late to start something new. This myth is a dream killer, not loud, but constant. It whispers, you missed your chance. You're too old to start over. Why bother now? And because of it, thousands, maybe millions of people hold back. They silence their ambitions. They file away their ideas. They tell themselves to settle, to stop. But here's the truth. It is never too late to begin again. Let history remind us. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was in her 70s. She went on to become one of the most celebrated folk artists in America, her work displayed in museums around the world. Colonel Sanders founded KFC at age 65, after a lifetime of failures. Harry Bernstein wrote his first successful book at 96. His memoir, The Invisible Wall, was published to global acclaim, and he wrote 2 more before passing at 101. These weren't people chasing glory, they were people answering something deeper, a calling that never left them, a spark that never went out. And here's the thing, starting something new in your later years often means doing it with more soul, less ego. You're not trying to impress anymore, you're trying to express. It might be writing a book, learning to play an instrument, starting a business, or simply rebuilding a part of yourself that life once knocked down. Because too late is a myth created by fear, not by truth. And the moment you choose to start, you've already rewritten the ending. So if there's something inside you that still burns, a dream, a project, a story, a love, a purpose, don't ask, is it too late? Ask, what would my life look like if I finally said yes? These 10 myths about aging have stolen so much, from individuals, from families, from entire cultures. They've twisted wisdom into weakness, turned years of experience into silence, made people believe that growing older means growing lesser. But you've seen the truth now. Aging isn't something to dread. It's a sacred passage, a time when distractions fall away, and what really matters finally comes into view. So if this video sparked something in you, a sense of hope, or even just a quiet, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs reminding that their age is not a limit, but a legacy in motion. And if you've made it this far, really listened, really felt something, then watching the whole of this video till now will honestly be a waste if you don't watch the next one. Because the next video reveals the must-have gadgets that enhances senior living. It's raw, it's urgent, and it might just protect someone you love or even save your future self. So before you go, click through to that next video, link in the description. Don't let this journey stop at inspiration. Let it move you to action. Because aging well isn't just about what you know, it's about what you do next.